much for that introduction. Thank you very much once again, and I would officially welcome you all to a Movement for Sustainability Stories. We are here again for the second edition of Women for Sustainability Stories. And you all know that this is a virtual series that aims to amplify women's voices, experiences, and stories in our efforts to promote sustainability, especially in the environmental sustainability. So we aim at promoting sustainability practices. We inspire positive actions and also encourage continuous learning in the field of sustainability. It's all about sustainability, and that's why we are here today. And today we are honored to have with us a very remarkable guest who has been doing amazing work within the climate space. And she's in the person of Margaret Imprim. I believe I got that right, Margaret.
Yes, it is.
Great. And so Margaret is a passionate advocate for climate justice and gender equality in the youth climate movement in sub-Sahara Africa. So you can just imagine the kind of person we have with us today. She's got a lot of experiences in grassroots work, volunteering. She focuses on addressing, biases against vulnerable youth and girls due to climate-related issues. Margaret has a lot of experiences. She served as an assistant, global coordinator at the Green African Youth. She plays, very critical roles in the Youth Climate Council, Global Alliance. Margaret has got a lot of, experiences. She's been a delegate for the COP 17. I mean, I won't want to bore you with much, so I would want to invite Margaret to come in and to tell us a little bit about herself and how she started this journey. So, before we start the conversation, I'd want us to acknowledge our supporting partners. We have 10 Billion Strong. So, 10 Billion Strong is a leadership development organization focused on environmental sustainability. You can find them on LinkedIn and all social media platforms. And then we have Wiki Dates Wiki Updates, okay? And Wiki Updates is actually hosting us on Zoom. It's also a podcast. And if you want to know more about what's happening within the Wikimedia ecosystem, one of our sponsors as well is the Wiki Green Initiative. Wiki Green Initiative organizes Wiki Green conferences as well. So when you Google that, you should be able to get some information. Don't forget to follow us on their Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and WhatsApp as Women for Sustainability Africa. Even if you type W4S, you should find that that's Women for Sustainability. So, Margaret, you're welcome once again. You're
Thank
so
you very
welcome
much.
once again. We are very, very happy to have you here today. So you may just want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how your whole journey started into getting into the how do you call it, into doing sustainability activities.
Thank you, Anita. And it's a pleasure to be here with everybody. And really hoping that whatever I share today will serve as inspiration for lots of women because I'm quite
Okay.
excited. I mean, you haven't an all women space. And
You
yeah, so
know,
yeah, it's very exciting for me. And I think I really do not take this for granted. So thank you again. So, and how I started everything, I mean, I've always been a nature lover and always have tried to, work around what I do. So, first degree, what I was doing more in the area of animal biology, understanding more of the, environment and also the animals particularly. So, interestingly, my first degree, I did something on vultures, which was very weird because I mean, I'm studying vultures and felt like, what is about vultures? And that was the first time I had to, explain the whole need for saving such animals and extending it to the masters. I realized that conservation was important, not just for animals, but also for
okay.
the human beings. So it was very important for me to be that center of people who would not just say don't destroy the environment or those who don't just say destroy because we need the money. So it's very
Yeah,
important to be in the middle of the economist and the environmentalist. Environmentalists are very enthusiastic about whatever they're doing. Economists as well. But how do you bring the bridge the gap because the people in the community do not know what's going on. I mean, they need their money. And the environmentalists also might think that they are being mean, they are being wicked and everything. So I had to put myself in that position to learn more about how to be in that middle part so that I could, in other way, bridge whatever gap. Maybe the environmentalists might be saying the right thing, of course, but they might be missing a kind of language.
Mm-hmm.
Economics are not wrong. We need the money, but
Yeah.
also there has to be a way to also bring it so that it doesn't affect the environment. Now, I mean, doing that, I realized that it plays more value for me as a woman because I find myself a lot of time in in the presence of men. Most of my panels actually have mostly, I'd say, like 2 out of 10 have been me in a
Really?
yes, and it's inspired me myself because I'm like, okay, this is good, this is good, this is really good. I think I really enjoy being in the midst of men because then it's not only inspires me but gives me sort of sense of acknowledgement, and it also kind of motivates other people. Right? So I get people coming to me, I want you to, tell me what you do and stuff, and I'm excited about it. I mean, I love motivating the youth, but I really love more motivating the women because then there is a lot to what we can do because we are the vulnerable group. A
Yeah.
woman already in her menses will be so much in pain, she cannot do what she's doing. A woman who is pregnant, who is married, cannot really push. So when you see people in the whole space being women, and most of my role models are women, women professors, women lecturers, women in the space, and I see them like, okay, this is possible for me. So I think that is what kind of keeps me going because I identify people in there and I see that these are really strong women who are really making things work. And it's very possible to actually be there. So I know I'm not there yet, but whenever I look up and I see those who are doing it, I find myself, working steadily and hoping that I too would inspire people right down from me. So that's just about me. Yeah.
Great. That's really interesting. From loving nature to vultures to that's really interesting. So how did you begin your volunteering, activity? How did you become passionate about volunteering? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
All right. So I think for me, most of the things I was doing was more looking at the impact and not just looking at the money you get out of it. Actually, before I started professional work where you get some income or some pay, I was volunteering for like over a year. And like you it's people somebody will ask me, so how did you manage to, get things together? That was what gave me the exposure. And I discovered volunteering to be that space for you to learn whatever you're doing and also for you to, build yourself and for you to impact people. So you're giving your time and people are seeing it and people are appreciating it. So I think volunteering is something that I've always loved. And for me, it's always something I would recommend people to do anytime they want to learn how to build themselves in something. I always tell them that please do not take away the volunteerism. I know it's hard in the economy and everything, but volunteering gave me my first traveling opportunity.
Oh wow.
Yes, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was not volunteering. So if I was waiting till I
Yeah.
had a paid job, I would have zero experience. I would not know whatever is going on. But in doing what I'm doing, in loving it, in seeing the impact, people enjoying it, then I tend to love more of what I do and not necessarily on the rewards. And trust me, the rewards come in eventually. So
Yeah.
I do not look at the immediate rewards. I look at the fulfillment, the satisfaction, and it's always overwhelming. That's the truth. It's always overwhelming. I mean, seeing whatever is going on. And from that time, I actually do not mind doing volunteering, whether it's virtual, whether it's physical, whatever kind of support I can give. I would want to give it because then I know that there's something in me that I can give. And if you want to look at how you can benefit from it, you would be very particular where you volunteer. And that is not a thing because people watch from wherever they're coming from. So if you're volunteering somewhere and you're looking forward to seeing some UN person looking at you before you start doing the work seriously, you're missing the whole point. You need to do what makes you happy, what
Yeah.
gives you joy, what gives you pride, what gives fulfillment. And someone might even recommend you from somewhere that, oh, she was in my team, she was doing this, she was doing that. I think she's gonna be good. I think your passion and enthusiasm makes way for you. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Well, that's really interesting because lately a lot of young people, if you ask them to volunteer, they want to know what's in there for them. So it's like they're looking out for you to actually pay them. And I mean, volunteering is volunteering. It's an opportunity for one person to learn and to build capacity. So I'm happy to hear this. At least you've had your first travel experiences from volunteering. So, Margaret, I just want to know from your point, how do you understand environmental sustainability, and why do you think this is so important to you?
Okay, so when I was studying, I found sustainable development to be that middle part, the intersection line between the money, the people, and the environment. So of course you need the money, you need this, you need this, you need this. And sustainability, for what I have learned, sustainable development is ensuring that there is the continuous pro, provision in a way, or continuous, let me say, display of stuff for future generations, so for the present and for the future. So in looking at environmental sustainability in this sense, is looking at having the environment in a position that would not just benefit the present generation, but for the future generation. So it's something that is very, very important. And even starting from what I was doing as vultures, I mean, in terms of looking at how vultures were important and how to conserve them and stuff. If people did not understand what was going on, they would not be able to even support and conserve them because one person cannot do the work of sustainability. So why it's important to me is so that people would understand whatever is going on and they'll be able to support it because then you as an expert in this case would give people the knowledge. But to what extent would you extend it so much that people who are living in close relation with this environment would also take that word and also help protect the environment? Because of course, like I said, there has to be that intersection between the money. You cannot say protect the environment when their only source of livelihood is agriculture. There has to be a way to ensure that whatever you're doing is supposed to give them some money, enough so that they would not be too hungry to destroy the environment. And they would also be able to protect it because they see it as something that is very necessary to show the future generation how it looks like. There's so many things. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I haven't really missed on a lot of things, but I'm very certain that our future generation, those who are 1 year, 2 year old, will not even identify some animals because then they're so gone in the system. They don't even know how it looks like. When you say a brew was very, very bushy and very forested area, now a brew is not really forested. Unfortunately, you might Achimota used to be very forested. Now it's not that forested. So some stories we were saying before are not stories people are saying now because we were not thinking about the future. We did not have that intersection in terms of our mindset on how things look like from the beginning and how things look like in making your money and ensuring that in making your money, you're not too selfish and too greedy, that you're not thinking of the others. So I think for me, people are not able to contribute to sustainability because one, they probably do not understand what it means to make people, to reserve things for future generations. And two, they haven't appreciated the value of these things. And maybe they're too selfish or too greedy. They're always thinking of themselves. People always want fast track money. They think of themselves, they think of what they're going to
That's
do and
true. Yeah.
everything. And unfortunately, it doesn't consider. So when you come to that point of understanding and appreciation, I think people would want to, contribute more to environmental sustainability. Yeah.
That's some good points there. Very interesting. Yeah, so let me just ask you've been engaged in quite a number of activities, from working with street children, persons with disabilities, to advocating for women and girls issues. So how do you see these areas, interconnected with sustainability from your experience and your background?
All right. So the world is very small, and I would use a story of um this is a religious person who was speaking. And then he was saying that so he had some people in a kind of a meeting, like they come for Bible meetings and stuff. And there were some young ones in there that he wasn't really considering them because they were doing stuff. They were coming with energy, but they were not really looking so distinguished, but he was not really considering them. And years later, he left the area, he came back, and these young people grew and they held knives at this religious person. And one of them identified him as the religious person. And as soon as they did, they were like, oh, I'm sorry. And they stopped it. So this is just to say that the things that you're not considering other people, they might come in and it would even harm you in the end. So whether the person is on the street, whether the person is somewhere in a privileged position and stuff, the world is very small. You might be in that position where you will need someone over there, or you might be in that position that someone over there can destroy whatever you have. So if you do not consider all the various groups of people, you do not consider the need for all of these people to have equal access to these things for an extended period, you're doing yourself harm. You might think that I have enough, but your future generation will have connection with these people. These other underprivileged will give birth and their children will connect with your children. So why don't you give the place, the space, a much, sustained, vibe and environment so that everyone doesn't feel like I'm not getting what I deserve, and so I'm going to go beyond it to get it. Or someone feels like, oh, I have what I want. I'm okay. I don't need to think about the other people. I think in looking at sustainability, you need to consider the fact that humans are very much connected, and then what you don't do in this age might affect you in several areas. And that's what we're seeing here, even the area of climate change. Most of what the leaders were doing in previous ages, actually because they wanted fast track and things and stuff. Now they are having angry youth at them. So if they had done the right thing, this youth will not be angry. They will not come protesting, don't do this way, do it that way. If you're doing the right thing, you not have angry youth. If you're doing the right thing, they wouldn't have people having to fly to get good air because now the air is polluted, or having to do so many things, spending so much money to get the right things because things now are destroyed. So I think in working around, you should not just limit yourself to one group of people, but there's a privilege and a privilege. Make sure that everyone gets access to you where it's in your level of impact. Everyone gets access to you because, like I said, the world is very connected. Humans are very connected. What you do at one point would certainly influence the other, and the other will influence you as well.
Great. So, have you had any experience where maybe what you've done, maybe you've changed the process, or something used to be done in a particular way that you have brought a change in process in this area that maybe I'll say maybe the children with disabilities were actually happy? Do you have any impactful story there to share?
Well, okay, so what I can say is in terms of what I do, and I'd say that in what I try to do what I preach, or do what I say, or do what what I talk about and everything. And even particularly in church, like those around me know how much I try to go against the use of plastic bottles or having water bottles and all of those things. So I make sure that those even in my close vicinity do not do the wrong thing. And at some point, it gets quite annoying because I insist once you're with me, if you are doing it, I dissociate myself with you. I do not know you. But once you're with me, then it gets to a point they get used to it. They embrace it. They get to understand that this is important. And even in bringing women on board, in staff, in bringing everybody on board, have been a great advocate for inclusion and ensuring everyone is on board. And I show that in what I do in my work. And this is something that's really influenced people because whenever I'm coordinating meetings, I'm coordinating stuff. And I leave it for people. They end up bringing everybody together. And this is something I see. So it's like I start with a system and everyone is able to work with it. So I think that's one thing I really pride myself in ensuring that everyone understands what's going on so much that they're willing to replicate it wherever they find themselves. And I have people who sometimes say the Margaret Imprim way, the Margaret Imprim approach. I mean, and it kind of, warms my heart because the people identify what I do as good enough to replicate. I think that's something that I really find so much pride in. And yeah,
Oh, that's interesting and very lovely to hear. The Margaret Imprim way. So, doing it the Margaret Imprim way, so as a woman, I believe there are so many challenges you faced in integrating some of, these processes. And whilst integrating yourself into sustainability focus, like what you just said, can you share some of the challenges you've faced with us?
okay. So even though I have been in a very supportive environment, my workplace, Gaio, it's awesomely supportive. Where there is gender inclusivity, I would say like all hands down. But I've had challenges in other places where they do not identify a woman as being good enough to do things as men. And I have had to point it out to them. So I think what has helped me in such challenges is my strong personality. I do not keep quiet. I do not know how to keep quiet when the right thing has to be done. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I have to voice it out. So assuming I was a very timid person, or I was someone who was very, kept to herself, doesn't want to voice things out. These challenges will become intimidations for me and will affect what I do and would affect my confidence. So this is actually why I always advocate for women in that space because I know not everyone has my kind of personality. Not everyone is able to voice things out. Some people are taught to keep quiet. I mean, I'm a typical Ghanaian. I wasn't going anywhere. I've also been taught to keep quiet. I have tried to go beyond it and still voice out whatever I'm voicing out. I get people talking about it. You're talking too much and stuff. I'm like, no, once it's the right thing, I will not keep quiet about it. So basically, the challenge has been people, trying to shove you aside, not identifying what you're doing. Thankfully, we live in an environment now that embraces gender inclusion. So I want to believe that this issue is not something that will be seen in so many years from now. But I want to believe that women that have actually been shut down, who have kept quiet the entire period, would identify the environment that is changing now and will be able to walk into it. Because now you do things, you want to bring women on board, and women don't come on board because they've been taught so many times to keep quiet, just so many times to not walk the same path the men are walking. I'm not preaching against patriarchy in any way. I'm just saying that the system had silenced some people. And even now that we see people trying to bring an equal environment, people still keep quiet. Sometimes we have events, we do lots of trainings, and the very technical things, very few women apply for it. And I'm sad. And I don't blame them because they've always had this mentality that these things are for the men. Or when I apply, I wouldn't get it. So they're not even bother to apply for it. So this is a challenge that beyond the environment, I think the people themselves have been engraved in that environment. They've been, molded so much that it's affected their personality, the way they are. And I'm hoping that sessions like this would help bring such people out of such mindsets. That they're able to identify the fact that they too have equal chances and they too have that potential to bring to whatever impact they want to make so far as they train themselves. So yeah.
Great. So we've had the challenges you face. Women are not voicing out enough. They are not speaking up. So how do you think we can overcome some of these barriers?
I think one thing is having inclusion and having the enabling environment. It seems usual when you have women supporting themselves, but it's more empowering, in my opinion, when you have men supporting women. So I think the enabling environment goes beyond just having women building women, but you have men building women as well. That you have men, making that environment enabling for women to walk with them, to work with them, to do things with them. That even in their painful cycle or something going on that naturally as a woman, it cannot, hinder them from being totally productive. They're able to be flexible enough and still do not be so hard on them. Because I mean now people are preaching for having, enough maternity leave so that people are able to still work and stuff. These are things. I've had women who are even afraid to give birth because when that happens, for a long period, they might not have the chance. You have actually some men, when they're employing people and you're a woman, they hesitate because they say when you get pregnant, we cannot have you go off the radar for a while. So having men empowering women, having men and bringing an enabling environment for women is something that I think is one thing that could work and the system that could help so that we would be able to identify, space where we can train women and also women building women. I think that's also one thing. And like I said, it being sad that you have training sessions. People are doing things. We are doing lots of things to empower women, but women have to bring themselves out of it. And we have to do it ourselves. Because some women might not even understand that their mindset has been hurt because of the system. So then we'll have to, draw them and encourage them and bring them on board.
Interesting. Great. So let me just take you quickly to climate justice. Can you give us more insights about what it is? I believe some of the ladies on the platform, as well as the gentleman who has joined us today, may not really know much about it. And since you are an expert in that field, kindly educate us.
Okay, so climate justice goes beyond climate action. So as we understand the word justice, justice is ensuring that the right thing has to be done, ensuring that what each person deserves gets it. So it is just having that space and activity that would ensure that the right thing is that in this case, everyone has equal knowledge, everyone has a capacity building, everyone has equal resources to ensure that the proper climate action is done everywhere. And so climate finance is actually climate justice. It's ensured that some people actually do have the money. So some people's activities towards climate justice is mostly in, protesting, which is totally fine. Some people's climate justice is more in the area of when people understand the need for climate finance. That's also fine. But basically, all these things blend together to ensure that everything in the area of climate, making sure that we reach that agenda that we are aiming towards. Everything that has to be done must be done. So bring people's people's minds to whatever is going on, ensuring that people are able to understand. So climate governance, in a way, falls into climate justice because then you're ensuring that the needed thing, I mean, it's just like saying law. The needed thing that has to be done is that it's done and it's implemented and everything is put in the right way as it's supposed to be. So I think climate is a very broad term that has found itself in so many ways and that people actually do excellent work in. So in whichever work that anyone finds themselves, just know that if you're working towards the goal where the right thing must be done, in this case, climate action, climate finance, everything you can do to bring the right thing, in the space. There's justice in the world, there's loss and damage, everything is, in the right space. You're actually also being a climate justice, person. And yeah, we're proud to have everyone come on board.
Wow, climate justice. That's really interesting and very broad. So, how are you able to enforce these climate justice or climate governance? To say, how are you able to enforce it?
Um, One thing I would say is in bringing these policies, unfortunately, we have had people extending a listening ear to the youth, listen to whatever they're saying, but unfortunately, we have not had them implement all the things that the youth say, and that has been a challenge. Sorry, in this space. And so, how do you ensure that policies are enforced? I would say that one, understanding the policy is one thing. You need to make sure you understand whatever you're going to advocate for. It's not hearsay. You need to speak facts. And in every room, there's a language. You need to understand the language that you speak with. So you cannot be a climate activist holding a placard protesting and walk in a negotiation room and expect them to listen to you. It wouldn't happen. You will need to understand the language of negotiators. When you walk in that room, you speak that language, listen to you more. If you find yourself in a protesting area, everybody's protesting, and you want to come with a book, speak to them, it will happen. It will not work. So you have to understand the language. And another thing I think we're lacking that it's important for us to look at is monitoring and evaluation new strategies, how to monitor these things. Because even in understanding these things, you need to know how to even approach them in demanding accountability. It's not every time that you use protesting to demand accountability. You might not have people listening to you. People just mind you, yes, but you don't have to listen. Maybe the Westerners will mind you. But we in Africa, that we are even trying to struggle with adaptation. I mean, protesting, uh, please, in a part of the world, does protesting really work in Ghana? I don't know. I'm not sure everywhere and what works. So identify what works, identify the strategies and how to go about things. I think it's another thing that we, the youth, would have to develop that craft. And once we do that, I'm sure we're able to demand accountability wherever we find ourselves, whether in the Western world, whether in Ghana, whether in Africa, anywhere, because then we have identified the dynamics of interacting with various levels of political pieces. And that's one thing that will really help us.
Wow, interesting. So, so I'd say that so what as a woman again, what do you see what opportunities do you see for women in this field and as well as the field of environmental sustainability, climate justice, climate governance, in your space? What opportunities do you see for more women?
I'd say that there are quite a number of opportunities. I mean, it has been for a long period usual to see men do the work. It's beautiful seeing women doing the work. It's beautiful because then they have been natural inhibitors, but then women are able to push through these natural inhibitors and still get the work done. So I think that alone has brought some beauty in spaces so much that people want to bring more women in the space. So I'd say there are lots of opportunities actually for women in that area, because then it's very important to identify the uniqueness of the various gender. And the woman gender is something that is very important, and it's hard to disregard. Women are very compassionate. Women are very they are strict when they want to be strict, because of that motherly thing in them. They're able to women don't struggle mostly with emotional intelligence. And so imagine having such a woman being in a space where she naturally has that, tendency. She has that, you know, natural talent, all of those things. It makes work so much easier. So I'd say opportunities are there because we want to explore the possibility of working with women beyond all of these things. And also in the aim to bring everyone on board in the climate space, there have been quite a number of opportunities for women. And that's one thing that it's a huge recommendation for everyone to explore. Never should any woman think that a kind of work is a man's work, particularly in the environmental space, where the speaking and the stuff. I recently was in a climate justice camp in Lebanon. I saw a number of married women there. I was really excited because then they did not feel that they were not able to do it. I was part of a yearly training, and I saw a woman come with a child. And I was very impressed because then ideally, someone might say, oh, you cannot bring your child with you far from home and everything. But she did that. She brought her child and she came to learn with all of us. So it's something that we women would have to conscientize ourselves, because the possibilities are there, the opportunities are so many. But we have to conscientize and walk into these opportunities. If we don't do that, then the opportunities will just go wasted. And again, it will just go to a selected few. We need to see more women in the space and what they can do.
Hmm. Lots of opportunities for women indeed. Wow. And people were coming in with their children and all of that. So just to know, we've got quite a number of people on the platform. So where can, somebody say, I'm interested. I want to be part of a certain training. What do I have to do? What should they do? How do they identify these opportunities? How do they start?
All right. So I think one thing is the willingness and having the mindset, the willingness to grow and learn, and having the mindset to grow and learn. Once I have this saying, whenever there's a will, there's a way. When you're willing, you'll find a way for everything. So in whatever you're doing and whatever you want to learn, you have to actually go search yourself. Most of the opportunities you will find them on Twitter. You find them on, Google, you find them on LinkedIn and all those stuff. But if you're not somebody who you've opened your notifications, you won't see them. They're not somebody who are consciously looking for these things. You won't see them. But the truth is, these opportunities are, even though there are so many, they are largely, explored by many. So you have to keep looking around, seeing how you can build yourself. So volunteering is one thing, and ensuring that you learn beyond your space. Maybe if you're a professional worker, you learn beyond your professional space. Of course, a professional space lets you learn something, but try to do an online course or something. Add value to yourself. Do something to ensure that when you're putting a resume for any training or anything out there, someone sees them like, oh wow, this is really nice. I mean, it's okay for someone to bring on board people with zero knowledge for a training because they want to train them. But it's easier, it's better when you have some amount of understanding about the training that you're going into. You cannot have zero expectations in a training. I mean, they're just gonna more or less like waste resources, for lack of a better word, waste resources with you who have zero expectations. When you build yourself, you have lots of expectations for even such trainings. Whenever you're even applying for them, they see your expectations, they see your needs, they see what you want, and then they pick you for whatever you're going for. So if you have zero expectations, start somewhere, start learning, start searching. If you want to look for something, fortunately, the information is everywhere. So just type something, look for something, search everywhere. Everything you want to do, just look, and you will definitely see something. And even if you miss an opportunity for this year, if you keep training yourself, you are put yourself in a better position to have that same opportunity the next year.
Wow. So Margaret has said it. I'm really happy of some of the points you've indicated, that the willingness to learn. We have to be very intentional about it, because if you're not intentional about learning, you will never learn, honestly. You need to be very intentional about it and take small step at a time, because a lot of institutions are giving online training. It may not necessarily have to be in the classroom. So, yes, indeed, there's a lot of opportunities out there for us to be able to grow and build that capacity we are looking forward to. Even currently, as we speak, 10 billion strong, who is actually partnering Women for Sustainability Story, is offering, you know, a program. So we have the Green Leaders Academy, which is powered by the 10 billion strong. They are accepting applications till 10th September. I'm going to share this link on the WhatsApp platform for as many as possible can who can join should kindly take opportunity of this and register with the academy, and let's learn something together. If you are not on the WhatsApp platform as well, we'll drop the link or the contact number that you can call. We'll add you to the Women for Sustainability WhatsApp page for us all to be able to learn something. I'm really, really very happy about this, and hearing this from Margaret as well actually confirms what we've been saying, and we've been doing that as well. So, Margaret, thank you so much for. We've been having interesting conversations so far. We're about to wrap up. So let me just ask you. I think my last, question will be. So, what are some of the key lessons you've learned along your sustainability story, and what would you, like to pass on to everyone on today's call?
The key lesson I've learned is everything is possible once you're willing to learn. Everything is possible. Wherever I find myself now, I wasn't there years ago. But because I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, I found myself in places where people were willing to teach me, to coach me, to build me, to help me. So that is one thing, one major thing. And I learn from people a lot. I meet people and identify something they're doing that I am particularly maybe lacking in it. And I watch a lot, I observe a lot, and I learn a lot. So I think that's one key lesson. Learn. Key lesson is learn. Be open to learn, be willing to learn. And whatever you're, building, it's a gradual thing. It's going to, make you better. And the me I was 4 years ago is not the me now. And the me now will not be the same me 4 years from now, because then I am open to learning and building myself. And it makes a lot of impact when you're there, because people see your growth. But will people actually identify growth? So once you keep learning, just forget about the immediate benefits. Forget about what you might get out of it. Forget about the struggle, the pain, the criticisms. Forget about all of those things. Just know that people identify growth. And when it's that time for you to be in that position, you'll be placed there because you'll be well prepared to put yourself there. Thank you.
Great, Margaret. It's been a great pleasure having you this evening on Women for Sustainability Stories. I believe we've all learned something. Please, let's keep learning, 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 learning. the me now won't be the me tomorrow if you learn. But if you do not learn, you'll be surprised. You stay the same and you'll be able to gain any knowledge. And let's also volunteer. Margaret did indicate that volunteering landed her first opportunity to travel, you know, and now she's traveling all over, everywhere. You'll find Margaret,
I'm currently in Kenya.
as we speak, Margaret is currently in Kenya, because of some of these works that she is doing. So let's be open, let's learn. And Margaret, you did mention about coaching and mentoring is very, very key. Is very, 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 very key. I believe Margaret is also open to mentor, you know. So why not? We are all here to learn. I'm actually even coming to you, Margaret, for you to mentor me. So please, if you've identified something good in someone and you want to learn, don't be shy, don't be ashamed. Just get closer to the person. Let the person know that I want to learn this thing about you, and let the person teach you. That's another way to go. Don't be shy about anything. Let's be bold and firm. We are women. We are made beautiful. We are bold. And let's keep learning and let's keep growing. I'm really pleased to have you. We've had a very wonderful conversation. So before we end today's session, I'd want to thank our supporting partners once again. We have 10 billion strong, and I did indicate that 10 billion strong is a leadership development organization focused on environmental sustainability. If you want to learn more about environmental sustainability, kindly look out for 10 billion strong, and they'll be ready to help you. They have online programs, free trainings for virtually everyone. There's no age limit to this. So kindly look out for 10 billion strong, and you will be helped. And we have Wiki Updates. Wiki Updates is currently hosting us on Zoom. It's a podcast. If you want to know more of what's happening in the Wikimedia, ecosystem, I would also want to say a very big thank you to Wiki Green Initiative. They are the organizers for Wiki Green conferences. You should look out for them and join some of the conferences they organize. And most of these conferences are also free. It's another platform and opportunity to learn something. And don't forget to follow us on our social media. You find Women for Sustainability Africa on Facebook. You find Women for Sustainability Africa on LinkedIn and on Twitter. We have a WhatsApp group page if you are interested and you want to join. And we've left a contact in the chat box. Kindly pick the number and drop us a WhatsApp message and you'll be added to the group. We share a lot of opportunities on that platform as well, and we try to help each other to grow. So areas where someone has a knowledge about, we are ready to support as well. I'm very excited. We've been able to have today's event successfully. Margaret, you've been so wonderful. You want to just give us your last remarks? Last remarks. Let's just wrap it up. We want to hear from you.
My last remarks. First thing, thank you, Women for Sustainability Africa, for bringing this opportunity. I mean, I think we need lots of these sessions, lots of people to come and let us know that it's possible to have people on board. And second thing I would like to say is please do not be afraid whenever you're walking in a place where you have people. Never should you be intimidated for what somebody is doing. Because somebody is doing it because they learned it and they know it now. So let that even be an inspiration for you. Do not say, "Ish, this is not for me." No, please. Everything can be for you once you learn. So just do not be intimidated by anything. Do not have anything. Be confident, be strong. Your confidence is actually what is going to make you be admired. So be overconfident.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
right. You're so spot on. Your confidence is what's going to make people admire you. You're spot on. Thank you so much, Margaret, for your time this evening. We appreciate you so much. So to end the session again, one of our members who is a volunteer in the community, has made some songs around climate change, and we may want to listen to this beautiful music that has been made. So kindly just stay tuned and listen. I think when it ends, we can all drop off the call. So thank you all very much. Yeah, and whilst you are listening, you can be dropping your comments in the chat box. Once a very big thank you to all of you. I see Raphael, I see Precious, I see Rita, I see Marian, Theresa, I see Isaac, I see Daniel, I see a Mabel, Irene, Berry, I see Mary texting, I see Ifua, Charlotte. Thank you very much and do have a good evening.
This is just security. But you have to say this for us. With climate change, tomorrow. Let's fail. Our life depends on environment, but we destroying all our environment. Inviting a serious calamity, which is a critical security. So we have to see this as an emergency and deal with it as a matter of urgency. With all our mental energy, so we can save the African community. Action now. Let's take action now. Action now. Climate action now.